Great morning, Kinfolk. How y'all doing? Happy Wednesday. I pray and hope that we are in alignment with our highest desires. I trust that despite maybe the challenges that we're facing, that we're feeling still like we can rise above anything and that we can conquer whatever. If you've been feeling super down or heavy lately, just know that you're not alone, and that, when we look at the sky and when we look at astrology, it's showing us that we are going to go through a little bit of a challenging phase, but it's nothing that we can't conquer. It's nothing that we haven't done before. Kudos to you for staying strong and staying open to receive. I want to give you guys a divine message, or just a overview of some of the transits from now until like late mid-July. So I recorded this whole video for y'all already, but just, things happen, and I had absolutely no audio, so I was talking for 30 whole minutes and had no audio when I began to edit it, and I was like, cool, awesome. I'm lying. I was really upset, not like too upset, but I was feeling a little bit emotionally down because of that. But I saw some really good messages and from some creators, and thank you so much. I think it was Bossy Bruja. I love her page right now. It's really helping me. The information that she provides is so helpful, so shout out to you and thank you so much. Again, I want to give you guys a overview of some of the transits that are going on, okay? So, last Friday, today's Wednesday, July 3rd. I wanted to get this to you guys sooner than this, but it's okay because everything is in divine timing. But last Friday was last quarter. So, if you think about the moon, like first quarter, last quarter, full moon, new moon, I'm very I'm a huge advocate for aligning with the moon and the lunar transits, because I feel like it is so helpful in our practical lives to bring this rhythm into real life. We ourselves are humans, and I don't think we realize that like capitalism and the culture of our country works us to death. Like, I don't think we really truly realize the impact that it's making on ourselves and our bodies. But I've been recognizing that as I've been trying to get out of patriarchal energies, patriarchal behaviors. It's like we've been working our asses off in the same positions or in the same ways, when that's not going to get us where we want to be. Financial freedom and freedom in general is my goal. So I've been just recognizing how this system needs to be dismantled. Even the systems in our mind about patriarchy, about working ourselves to death, about working harder to get financial freedom, is the opposite of what we need to do. And if we are working, we're creating, we're resting, because resting is work too. And we just have to witness in ourselves where we need the balance. And if you're on a healing journey, like, staying in balance is just bare minimum for being healthy. But if you're also trying to gain financial and or personal freedom, if you're trying to make it to where you can create a new reality where you're making more money but doing less work, I think we have to dismantle systems in our mind that tell us, one, that maybe the job that we're at or the job that we're doing is going to get us there if we work harder at it. I don't think that that's the solution. In my personal life, I've seen that that is not the solution. It is extremely hard to get out of that mindset. But following astrology has been super helpful. and just reading, you know, following different creators who align with that mentality, and kind of getting rid of anything that challenges you to be in the same cycles. It's like, these are cycles that we need to dead. Okay. So as I was mentioning, last quarter was last Friday. Last quarter is the halfway point between the full moon and the new moon. The first quarter is the halfway point between the new moon and the full moon. So last quarter was in Aries. Aries is a fire sign. This is challenging to break down and or make it concise in a way where I feel like you guys will truly understand. And I'm just a talkative person, so maybe I'm making it more difficult than it needs to be, though I feel like I need to go in depth a tiny bit. So last quarter, each moon phase means a different thing. Each sign means a different thing. So when you're looking at the astral planner, let's say, you're gonna see, and you can start with the moon. Start with the moon, because the other planets, I think, will make it a tiny bit more challenging for you. But if you don't know already, Saturn is retrograding in Pisces, and that also has an effect on us. And when the sun is in different signs, it also affects us. But I want to focus on the moon today because of the fact that I think we're so much more emotional than we portray ourselves to be, or our system has been conditioning us to ignore our emotions and or cope with them in unhealthy ways. So when we look at the transits, we're going to be able to see how that moon sign is affecting us in the current week, and what we can do, what self-care practices that we can implement, what things that we can do more of in order to get that balance, that clarity, that peace, that freedom, and again, that peace of mind that we're searching for. Okay. Personally, I'm searching for that. Not even searching, because I know where peace of mind resides. It resides within us. But we really need to take the steps in order to do this on an individual level, because when we have the conversation about what we're doing in November, and Democrats versus Republicans and Project 2025 and all that shit, we need to talk about this first. We need to talk about the individual journey first, because that's where the systems start. Okay, the systems are starting right up here. It has a lot to do with our upbringing. It has a lot to do with what our parents taught us. But not to blame our parents, because they were in the same systems that we're in today. But we're a lot more bold, I think. This generation is a lot more bold. I'm so proud of us for challenging those perspectives. Amen. All right. So again, last Friday, June 28th, was last quarter in Aries. Last quarter is about completion. It is active energy. So if you have, I don't know if we watch our cycles or not, but sometimes we're on, women especially, sometimes we're on our periods during the full moon, and sometimes we're on our periods during the new moon. Me personally, I'm on my cycle around the new moon. Now, sometimes it shifts too. Like, you could be on one cycle or the other, and sometimes people suffer with both, or like it changes so much. And I think it has a lot to do with us exploring how to find the balance. Okay. Leading up to full moon energy is active. Leading up to new moon energy is very introspective. It's very turning inwards and like doing the real self-care and shadow work. Okay, so that's the phase that we're in right now. We're in shadow work time. Saturday and Sunday was an Aries Taurus transit, and that's moving from like fire energy to earth energy. I feel like that was meant for us to use that fiery energy to work on ourselves internally, because although last quarter technically is an active sign, and we do need to do physical activity, but it really means completing like tasks that you need to do. It's honestly for manifestation. So the new moon is technically where we maybe receive our manifestations and are manifesting and setting intentions. The full moon is about releasing blockages, releasing anything that is keeping us from our manifestations. So we don't always need to follow that in order to manifest, but this is kind of manifestation 101. It's about using the cycles to like know when I need to introspect, when I need to look at and reassess, where do I need to adjust? And then you look to the full moon or wherever your active energy is and act. You can still take this information and this knowledge and use it to your benefit of knowing when your active cycles are and when your down cycles are. So there's always an up and a down. It's always a cycle. So like when we're up, we're actively doing the work, and when we're down, we're kind of seeking where we need to do more work. So right now, this is where we are perspective shifting on where we need to do more work, and dismantling the systems in our mind comes with knowing that sometimes it's not external. Sometimes it's not like external work, like let me receive money, let me do things. Like it's not always about that. Sometimes it's about doing so much inner work and like reframing our beliefs, working on ourselves and our faith and lifting our vibration. Like all of that internal work, that takes effort, that takes energy. And there are phases when we're gonna need to do the external work and, apply the pressure. But then there are times when we need to apply that pressure and turn it inwards. So I'm saying that right now, today is Wednesday, July 3rd. Yesterday, the moon, the waning crescent went into Taurus. So even the waning crescent means different things. Waning gibbous means different things. Waxing gibbous, waxing crescent means different things. Okay, so the waning crescent is a release. It is a let go. You're turning inwards. You have quiet solitude to yourself, and you're honoring the work that you've done. So you're kind of in reflection mode, right? And shadow work mode. So this comes with journaling. It comes with meditating, and it comes with self-care, acts of self-care, okay? And I know that a lot of the external world is going to make it seem like self-care is just going on a high, and it is, but the external world are going to make it seem like they're frivolous things and or maybe just luxury things. They're things that maybe only white people can do and or maybe just wealthy people can do. But it's actually not true. We can use whatever we have to our advantage to be able to work on ourselves. It's going to mean a lot. It's going to mean a lot. It was moving from Taurus to Gemini. Taurus is a stubborn sign also, I know, because I'm a Taurus moon. So Taurus is about luxury though. It's kind of about standards. Like when I think about Taurus, I'm like, they got high standards. Like they are quality. Their quality is just like a little bit up here, So I feel like this transit was really challenging us to either up our standards. I would never suggest for us to lower our standards, but if we're being a little bit unrealistic in our standards, then maybe we just need to reframe them and be more patient in the process of building our standards. We were in Taurus, now we're in Gemini. Gemini to me is about shadow work. It's about communication. So if you are either wanting to reset your standards, raise your standards, do something different with your standards in a more luxurious receiving mode, that's what Taurus is, like luxury receiving, like I'm just this queen or this king or this royal. Taurus is challenging us to maybe reframe how we want to be perceived, how we perceived ourselves, and how we want the world to see us, meaning if we want to look better in our eyes or other people's eyes, like there's some work that we need to do around that, okay? Gemini is about communicating actively how to embrace that. because Taurus is all about embracing those standards. We need not be afraid of setting that bar a little bit high if we need that, but also honoring the bar, honoring where the bar needs to be or where we're setting that bar. Okay, this Friday, July 5th, is the new moon in Cancer. So the sun has already entered Cancer. Cancer to me is mothering energy. It is mothering ourselves. And that's what I mean about dismantling systems, because when you think about a mother and a father, the mom is way more emotional, right? Sometimes dad is emotional too. And I really enjoy masculine energy when they're very either self-aware emotionally or in touch with their emotions, because they're able to, when we're in touch with our emotions, we're able to communicate them. And it is super, super healthy for us to be as intimate with ourselves as we can, because then we're knowing ourselves intricately. We're knowing our emotions back and forth. We're knowing women when we're moody, when we need to up our self-care regimens, when we need to make adjustments because we know ourselves. We know when we're ovulating. We know when our periods are. Like, all of those things, and knowing our cycles, knowing our rhythms require intimacy with ourselves. Okay, new moon energy is about rest. It is about setting intentions, but it's low energy. Okay, we need to rest to be able to receive. So if we want to reset our standards and we're not very clear, or maybe we have desires that are super, super tucked away, and the systems that this world puts on us or just our country puts on us, it allows us to like do away with those dreams and those desires. Cancer is going to challenge us to mother ourselves in those ways, because only we are the vessel that brings in our desires. If our container is not fixed and adjusted, we are like robots a little bit. We're like machines. If we're not adjusted in order to receive, we won't receive it. Sometimes we're our own worst enemy, and I know that to be true within myself a lot of the time. My mind, my anxiety lies to me or plays tricks on me, telling me I need to do things in order to be worthy. And that is what I feel like we're gonna go through in this for the rest of this Cancer season. We're gonna see how valuable we see ourselves. And I mentioned Saturn in retrograde because Saturn is the planet of karma. I don't know if we know this, but during our late 20s, I don't even know if men go through this, but I'm assuming that they do, just in different ways. We are challenged by Saturn to be more disciplined. We are challenged by the world. It seems like, honestly, like a Mercury retrograde for like 3 or 4 years, because it is like challenges on top of challenges on top of challenges, but they're so like to our benefit. And I wish that I could remember this when I'm experiencing the challenges. Sometimes I do, but it takes a minute for me to move from one emotion to another. And that's why I feel like it's so imperative for us to work on our emotions in such an emotional time as this. Like, freaking Cancer season is the time to do it. It's a very watery sign, so the moon is already an emotional planet. It's the planet of emotions. So when our sun sign is in a water sign, and then when our moon phase happens to be in a water sign too, the new moon in Cancer, it's going to amplify your emotions. And Saturn's transit right now is, since the moon and the sun are amplifying our emotions, Saturn is just karmically receiving back whatever our emotions are telling us. Okay, so it's not sending us challenges on purpose. It's actually sending us challenges for us to practice how we wish to be emotionally. And that process looks different for everybody. That process is a little bit challenging. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of challenging, but that's why we take extra rest and we resist capitalism in order to rest. Like, resist by resting. Okay, leading up to Friday, what we can do is, if you haven't let go of things, because that's what full moon energy is. It's not too late to release. Make sure that you're kind of in an introspective mode right now, though, and not doing too much, too much, because of the fact that you have to be quiet. You have to be still in order to receive guidance, in order to like hear what your intuition is telling you. So be in quiet solitude. Maybe take a little park date by yourself, pack yourself a little lunch, go outside, receive the downloads from spirit, and see where we want to make adjustments in our desires, in our lifestyle. Okay. And also, so Saturn's transit is in Pisces. Pisces is the land of imagination. It's very like, they create a lot. They're very mystical, but I love their like innovative. They're the sister sign to Virgo. That's why I feel like maybe I understand Pisces so much, but they're almost similar to Libra in a sense. They remind me so much of Libra, because Libra's energy is very airy. It's very like in flow, and that's what Pisces energy be given for real. It be given like Delulu, to be honest. And I think that the universe is challenging us to be a little bit delulu with our desires. We're manifestors. That is like our intuitive nature, I feel. We're vessels to bring out our desires. That's what I believe. So we can't bring out a very magical, miraculous desire unless we create it here ourselves, and unless these beliefs, this mindset, unless this vessel agrees with it, we're not going to be able to produce miracles in our life, like real shit. We're not going to be able to produce those. So we have to learn from Pisces. We have to actually see their teaching and be like, okay, they're a little bit delulu, they're a little bit imaginative, but that is power and it's medicine in order for us to believe in our dreams and have faith. Like every dream requires a lot of faith. So like we're the only ones stopping ourselves from bringing that faith, bringing that belief to life. And it's super important for us to work on our containers. Okay. So that's essentially what the work is going to be. We have to work on our containers. I'm going to give a quick overview at the very end, but if you guys want to listen to these details, I'm just going to finish up. So after Friday, after the new moon, leading up to the full moon, the next full moon is Sunday, July 21st. It's the full moon in Aquarius. Okay. Aquarius is a little bit similar to Pisces, but they're very intellectual. So I feel like I don't want to be wrong. Not even I don't want to be wrong, because I learn by being wrong. But Aquarius, in my image, it gives me intellectual. Like it's almost Pisces, but not delulu, but it actually takes Pisces to another level in a way of like, okay, let's actually make this happen. Because Aquarius is like engineering, like manufacturing a plan for how we're going to get our dreams, how we're going to receive. So that is the full moon later this month. But leading up to that, we have to work on, and we have to do the work. This is going to be the external work that I was talking about earlier. This is going to be learning new skills, being productive, creating new systems, and or adjusting our system. And this is what I mean by dismantling, letting go of systems that have not served us. If masculinity and patriarchy is killing you right now, that's the system we need to dismantle. That's the system that needs to go. To be honest, that's the shift that we need to make. So if you've been working externally super hard, thinking that you're going to get to your dreams by working extra hard and working harder externally, that's the system that needs to be like, shoot, it ain't going to work that way usually anymore. Okay. It's going to have to be, a different type of productivity. Maybe we need to adjust our morning and our evening routines. That's what I'm trying to focus on right now, because I'm knowing that is what is going to serve me in this lifetime right now, is adjusting that so that I can receive. So we have to create a plan. And in order to create a plan, we need solitude. In order to get clarity around the plan, in order to get clarity on where we're going wrong, we need to be still. So from now until maybe even Saturday, I would say, be very still. Be very, very still and see where the universe is giving you clarity on where your adjustments need to be made, okay? After that, starting with Sunday is when we can kind of actively start working around our big vision, creating a plan, setting concrete goals, and acting on those goals within like 24 to 36 hours, within a day or two, okay? So it's a perfect time to do that, because Sunday, the moon is a waxing crescent in Leo. Leo is also a fire sign. So it's similar to how it was last Friday on like, okay, use the active moon or use the active energy to your benefit, whether that's acting physically or externally, and versus internally. All of next week is gonna be grounding energy and going with the flow energy. You have to balance. So like every 2 days, the moon changes, every 2.5 days. So if Sunday is an active moon phase, by Tuesday, we're in a earth moon phase. That means we have to not be completely still, but go a tiny bit slower, and or get as grounded as we can so that clarity comes through quicker in order for us to know where to act. Don't be wasting your energy. Don't be wasting your time. So next Friday, after the earth moon energy, is going to be air energy. Air is going with the flow energy. It's actually being a little bit spontaneous in a way, but it's being intentional with your air energy, okay? And it's in Libra, and Libra is ruled by Venus, so that is amplifying your self-care and your self-love and your standards, like loving yourself in the way where you're seeing your value. That is what we're working on right now. Okay, how do we see our value? If it's fucked up, fix that. And then next week, we're like, okay, we now know our right value, so let's work on that and let's do the work. So next weekend is first quarter. It is first quarter in Libra. And that's validating ourselves. So like literally giving yourself the love that you're requiring, because in order for us to receive, we have to know that we're worthy of it. So that's what I mean about self-value. Like if our shit is fucked up now, we have until next week to work on that shit and then be able to set the groundwork to be able to receive, okay? So that means being consistent. And I don't mean being consistent in the same ways that we've been consistent. I mean literally shifting the system, breaking and dismantling the system. So if you're in a more masculine energy, like I am personally, it's gonna mean doing a lot more feminine work. And what that looks like is being a lot more intentional, but like, I need to care for my body. I need to care for my mind. What ways help my body the most? So take note of what's draining your energy, what's lifting your energy, and be your own self advocate. Like advocate for yourself and your needs. If you're working on your morning routines, let's say, for example, and your nighttime routines, we need to be consistent. Okay, we need to make sure that we're doing the work in that area actively in order for us to get clarity, correct clarity on how our new system is going to work for us. If we don't dismantle and let go of the systems, then you're still going to be active in the wrong ways. You're going to be actively amplifying your wounds, to be honest. So we're trying to heal how we perceive ourselves. If you're feeling like you're unworthy and you don't do the work to dismantle the unworthiness, you're going to act out of unworthiness, if that makes sense. So after first quarter, after next weekend, this is where we fully commit. This is where the momentum is peaking. That's why I have to tell you guys this very early. Like, the full moon is in a few weeks or a couple weeks. I don't even know right now, but it's in several amounts of days, at least 2 weeks from now, a little bit under 3 weeks. If we're unclear, get clear on where you're feeling unworthy, dismantle that, do the work in order to receive the worthiness that we're looking for. And then by the full moon, that's when we're going to celebrate either feeling worthy, celebrating the physical thing that comes in that shows us that we're worthy, or that's where we'll see the momentum peaking. We'll feel the momentum peaking. That's why it's important to start this work now. So for example, if this whole thing has you inspired to work on your morning routine, right? This is where you start working on your morning routine. You don't start at the full moon. Like, to be honest, you don't start at the full moon, because it's like, you need to be momentum peaking at that moment. So if you want to take some time from now until the full moon to work on your routines, if you don't have clarity on how your routine is or is not working for you, this is the time to just go into introspect and be quiet, journal, meditate, and gain clarity on what's wrong. Okay? And then after that, after we finish that next week, in the beginning of next week, Sunday, that is where we're working towards the clarity, or we're working with the clarity that we got. That's where we're working. We're like, okay, let's see. For example, if you're seeing that going to bed late or watching that extra TV show at night is fucking up your morning routine, that's where you need to work on, or that's where you need to start. So you got the clarity, right? So Sunday is when you start implementing that. You're like, okay, let's start winding down a little bit earlier so that my morning routine can still be on a good note, so it can still be on the right cycles. That's just for example. And then you keep that shit up for a good 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, so that you can feel the momentum peaking at the full moon. So by the full moon in Aquarius, you're like feeling the momentum. You're like, okay, I feel good. And feeling good is what we need to work towards. Like, that is exactly how we receive our manifestations, y'all. Feeling good, feeling good. Okay, that's why I'm like, we're way more emotional than we put ourselves out to be, because we think that receiving is like, receiving a good attitude is the best thing to do as well. Like, we have to receive good emotions and good energy, because that's how our container is able to manifest. Feeling good. If you haven't read Ask and It Is Given by Esther Hicks, that is what you need to read if you're not understanding that manifestation is about feeling good. Because the better we feel, the higher that we feel in frequency, that is how we attract. We're energetic beings. I believe we're attractive beings energetically, in the way of like, okay, if Saturn is giving you a bunch of bullshit right now, it's because we believe we're bullshit. Or if you're receiving bullshit and you're feeling like shit, and you're feeling like, oh, this is validating the like, if you're using that as an example of why you feel so unworthy, or if you're using that moment of like, this is why, like, y'all, like, for example, when sometimes bad shit happens to me, I'm like, y'all fucking hate me. And I'm talking to like my universe, my ancestors, right? And that is so harmful. That is so harmful, because that's not a belief I'm taking with me into the next phase. Okay. They're giving me the opportunity to show up. They're giving me the opportunity to show up as the person that I'm wanting to be. So if I'm taking it kind of personally, or that perspective is not, that's not the perspective that we need. We need to see that as like a challenge. We need to see challenges as good. We need to see this as our test, you know? And I hate tests. I hate tests because tests are full of triggers, to be honest. And sometimes that is so challenging to deal with when you're already suffering from a capitalistic society that makes you have to work really, really, really hard in order to pay your rent. And it's like survival mode. You know what I'm saying? And I'm understanding how extremely challenging it is for us to get out of survival mode. But yes, that is a very detailed overview of what's going on between now and mid-July. So it's also going to be super helpful if you're into astrology even deeper to know what signs your houses are in, or what houses your signs are in, all of your chart, your astrological chart, because then you're able to see what house, because houses have meanings too. That's why astrology is so deep. It's like a very intricate science, and I love it. But that's how you're able to see what area of your life is being adjusted. So last Friday, with last quarter in Aries, it's about it. Well, the moon was in my 8th house, and 8th house is about intimacy. And to me, that meant that I need to be so active in being intimate with myself, and or if I'm feeling challenged, that's because I'm not knowing myself intimately. Like, I should know, again, when my hormones are up and down, when I need to be adjusting, because that's how we are rhythmically. We're cycles. We're up, then we're down. We're up, then we're down. Like, nature is like that too. We mimic nature. That's how I recognize, or that's how I'm learning. This is how I understand astrology is working for me, by going that deep into it about the houses and everything. Because you can start with just the moon phase, and that'll help you out, because I literally just gave you the whole breakdown on how to make adjustments, and that's literally where you can start and where you can stop. But if you want to go deeper and get into the houses, I can create a separate video for that. So we're going deeper, because this video is already super long. So we're going to wrap up with the message, the collective message. And if you haven't done this already, you have to be as intimate with yourself as possible, especially in the areas of your subconscious beliefs and your emotions. So work on your crown chakra, your third eye chakra, and work on your upper chakras right now if you haven't already, meaning, how's your mindset right now? Be very introspective and reflective on how your mental is doing right now, how your inner world is doing. If you're in shambles, if you're in chaos, adjustments need to be made. Okay, that means learning yourselves. What things are making you feel worse? What can make you feel better? Internally wise. Okay, be extra disciplined and responsible with this, but also your desires, how you're valuing yourself, and take consistent action with yourself and your needs. This includes rest as resistance and reclamation. We need to be extra disciplined and responsible with that, because if we are not, we're going to operate out of our wounded self. Makes sense? Transcend how we perceive and communicate with ourselves. If we're perceiving and communicating with ourselves as unworthy, that is what the universe is just going to give right back to us. You're unworthy? That's what you told me. You told me you were unworthy. It's like, no, spirit, that's not what I said. Or that's not what I meant. Okay, so we have to transcend how we perceive and communicate with ourselves, because ultimately it's not going to work. It's just not going to work if we're still perceiving ourselves as unworthy. Okay? We're attracting luck, growth, and expansion through our beliefs and our emotions. That's why we have to be intimate with ourselves as possible, especially in the areas of our beliefs and our emotions. To create more movement, dead any and everything that blocks optimism. Use love, art, and beauty to create more movement. Okay? So, dead any and everything that blocks optimism. So, if you're a little bit of a sad girl, I completely understand that, because I'm a sad girl too. But we're never going to perceiving ourselves that way. And maybe there's a reframing that we need to do, and or a healing or a letting go internally, maybe inner childhood wise, when you're working on your beliefs and you're working on your heart chakra, that anything that blocks our optimism and or our worthiness and how valuable we truly are, that shit is gonna fuck us up. How can you use love, art, and beauty to communicate with yourself, to actually see yourself as worthy first, and then communicate that through action? Love, art, and beauty. If you're creatively express. If you are seeking a deeper and intimate, more loving relationship with yourself and other people, what makes you feel loved? Recognize what your non-negotiables are. That is the healthiest form of self-love, knowing what your non-negotiables are. Okay? What's your non-negotiable in your romantic relationships? What's your non-negotiables in your self-care relationship? It's all going to be super helpful. And lastly, and beauty. Beauty is even nature. Like, beauty is even getting some sun, being out in a beautiful space, making yourself beautiful, giving you a little beauty ritual. Like, create that image of yourself. Like, what makes me feel beautiful? What connects me with beauty? Maybe going on a solo date to a little museum. Like, what is truly going to amplify that value in you? Do whatever it takes, and or use what you have at your disposal. Most important, be rebellious and eccentric in your creativity. So don't do the same things that you've usually done. Maybe amplify that a little bit. Maybe take it up a notch. Use your imagination to create and inspire change within. So how can you be a little rebellious to yourself if that means being feminine and resting and or doing beauty rituals and taking care of yourself and being in nature? It's like, use that to inspire change. Nature is going to give you I believe nature gives me downloads all the time. So pay attention to your dreams, use your intuition and your mysticism. If you are a little bit of a mystic, if you have tarot cards and or oracle cards, bust those babies out. Give yourself a reading. If you're a meditator, meditate the fuck out of yourself this week. Maybe twice a day for at least 10 minutes. I would say at least a 25-minute a day meditation is super dope. That's where my sweet spot is. If it's at least 25 minutes, because I feel like your mind is going to just let go of a bunch of stuff in maybe the first 10 minutes. And then after that, you'll get the groundwork for receiving the downloads. Like, okay, this pops up, this pops up, this pops up, and just take note of certain things that pop up if you can remember them all. Your dreams. If you're a dreamer, like I am, take notes of your dreams. Write them down in a journal if you remember them. Look up the meanings of certain things, certain symbols. If you see an animal, or if you are awakened to an emotion or a feeling of your dream, then really pay attention to those things. And when I mean be rebellious, I also that includes rest as resistance. That includes being in your feminine energy if you're a mostly masculine person. This means men too. I don't want you to think that me telling you to be feminine is a bad thing. I need you to be feminine because those are the patriarchal systems that we're dismantling. Okay, dismantle that shit within yourself, and it starts on an individual level before we even talk about the government and all that. That's why we got to do this. Okay, so this will also be on a very simplified Canva graphic that I will create for y'all. I'm really excited to share a lot more different things with you guys. I'm seriously considering a virtual class for us to do this type of work, because I know we need to address our emotions and our worthiness and our self-value. I'm already knowing that we all need help with that. So Like, comment, share, please. If you've watched this until the very end, I love you. I adore you. Let me know how you're feeling about getting or needing extra support in this area. And I'm looking forward to seeing how everybody uses this information to your benefit. Thank your ancestors, because they needed you to receive it. And it was a test for me to even get this shit up. So if you have watched this to the very end, and or if you're just watching some of it, and if you got anything out of this, I appreciate you so much. Thank you. There might be something else Spirit wants me to share. So I've created sea moss cannabis gummies. I'm really excited to share them with people because I've promised them to people for so long. So I'm really excited to get those to you guys. Let us take a collective deep breath together while I'm outside, so you guys can get the same energy as well, okay? Let's take a collective deep breath together. Inhale. And exhale. Again, take another deep breath in. Hold it. And release. One more time. Deep breath in. And release. Amen, sisters, cousins, brothers, uncles, aunties. All right, so that is the start of our introspection, okay? So if you're needing time to reflect, I expect you to do that as soon as possible. If you're needing time to go within about anything, I'll suggest a 10-minute meditation in this video. Thank y'all so much for watching again. Share it with somebody that you think this will be helpful for. I'll see y'all later. Take care.